see what the Cleveland Browns just did with Deshaun Watson's contract, where they free up $35 million, and now they have $62 million in cap space by doing some salary cap gymnastics by signing some of his guaranteed $230 million deal, biggest of all time still to this day, and make it a signing bonus so you can kick that thing down the road throughout the rest of the contract, which makes you think, wait a minute, seems like Lynch is about tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland Browns were in it at one point.
For sure.
Then they were considered out of it. That sounds very similar to what happened with the Deshaun Watson situation with the Cleveland Browns, where they were considered in it, then they were considered way out of it, and then they came all the way back in with a heavy offer to make it take place. Is this all? Joining us now is a man who might know. Senior NFL insider for ESPN, Michigan man, Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
Schefter,
Tell me what's going on.
Schefter, am I doing too much of this? Am I doing too much of this? I know you just watched what just took place. Cleveland opens up a lot of money right before the season starts. Why would they do that? Unless they were trying to make a signing or bring somebody in. What are your thoughts on it? And should I be linking this all together?
Well, let me say this. With Brandon Ayuk, nothing ever seems to be what it appears to be, right? On Thursday, August 1st, I thought a trade to Cleveland was happening and was imminent, and then it didn't get done. And so the holdup with Cleveland all along hasn't been whether or not the Browns have cap space. The holdup there has been Brandon Ayuk's willingness to accept a trade to Cleveland.
Big money.
The contract would have been done there if he wanted to go. The compensation would have been done there if he wanted to go. He's balked at going to Cleveland in the past. Now, could he change his mind today, in the next week? Anything's possible here, because I would venture to tell you that there's never been a case as unpredictable as the one that has gone on this summer between the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk. At various points dating back to before training camp, the 49ers thought they had a deal with Brandon Ayuk, and they didn't. They thought there was a trade with the Cleveland Browns, and then there wasn't. A trade with New England was coming together until it wasn't. A trade with Pittsburgh was going to happen until it didn't. He was re-signing with the 49ers after meeting with them until he didn't. He was going to be traded again until he wasn't. Now, he was going to practice yesterday until he didn't, until he ghosted him. So, how many people have been out there also pointing out that trades with teams are done? Like, at various points, I've heard he's going to Pittsburgh. I've heard he's going to Cleveland. Has anything gotten done yet? No. All of a sudden, at some point, when Mike Lombardi's saying the rubber meets the road, yes, when we were on Monday here, we're saying this becomes a critical week for all sides to get together, to push, to make something happen. It doesn't mean it's going to be resolved, but there certainly were going to be renewed efforts this week with CeeDee Lamb, which got done, with Jamar Chase, which seemed to be going the right way until yesterday, with Brandon Ayuk, which continues to be a situation that has been a stalemate, with Trent Williams, which hasn't been a lot of progress so far, and with Hassan Reddick, which also a stalemate with not a lot of progress so far. But that's not for a lack of effort this week from teams and trying to make something happen, knowing that the regular season's opening 1 week from tonight.
Which is awesome. Yeah, we are all happy about it. It's very good news. But it is deadlines normally bring compromises and agreements in this entire thing. And we kind of thought maybe the Commanders, whenever they traded Dotson for a third rounder, maybe they were trying to load up a third rounder.
Commanders are not in.
Got it. Commanders not in. Obviously, deal didn't happen. Then I see the Browns open up this money, and I think to myself, with the Deshaun Watson situation, remember, Deshaun wasn't going to Cleveland. He balked at going to Cleveland. That has not taken place. Then they come in with the biggest contract guarantee in the history, Mulligeta. Hey,
dog.
Absolute dog, Mulligeta. But he comes in over the top, $230 million guarantee, and all of a sudden Deshaun Watson's like, I'm not going to Cleveland. I'm not going to Cleveland. I'm not going to Cleveland. Free up this money so that they can still have a good amount of money to use during the season, but maybe they are going to make him one of the highest paid guys. And if he becomes one of the highest paid guys all of a sudden, does that make him change his tune going to Cleveland? Like, is there, no, okay. No,
it hasn't today. It hasn't. They already were offering more money than Pittsburgh, more money than San Francisco. They were offering like that. That wasn't the issue.
Got it.
The issue simply was that he preferred to go elsewhere.
So what do they open up all this money for then? Trent?
Well, they opened it up knowing that they have business to do at the start of the new league year next year, and to have that flexibility. And again, I don't ever rule out that Brandon Ayuk couldn't change his mind today, but I haven't heard that he is. Like, if I heard today that he was being traded with Cleveland, would it shock me? It would surprise me. But in this particular situation, nothing has been what you thought it would be. No. Nothing.
It's like,
so it's hard to predict. But I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think the Browns opened up that cap space with the idea that we are getting close to making a trade for Deshaun. I could be wrong, but I don't believe that to be the case.
Okay, we will keep an eye on it. Obviously, in the Ayuk situation, he's certainly awesome because the Niners seemingly have to deal with this every offseason, something like this. And then inevitably they get it worked out. And then inevitably they're all the way around to the end.
Yep.
And then if they don't win a Super Bowl, people say there's a lot of complaining for a team that doesn't win a Super Bowl. It's like, they are. It is not easy to win a Super Bowl. They are such a dominant team, such a great team. Hopefully they'll be able to figure it out. Let's talk about an AFC team that has a situation that you alluded to there. Jamar Chase was back. It was going good. T. Higgins obviously on a 1-year deal. He understands the situation. Jamar Chase, 2 years left on his deal, but I would like to get paid. Everybody understands what my worth is to this particular program. He's coming back to practice. Zach Taylor saying, I'm excited to watch the Jamar Chase show. I'm excited to watch the Jamar Chase show. Then 13 minutes into practice, Jamar Chase shows up wearing a T-shirt and shorts. I saw people saying it was street clothes. I think that's a Bengals shirt.
Yeah.
I think he's wearing a Bengals shirt. So that means he went into his locker. He was there in the building. So he's wearing team apparel gear, just not practicing. What is the situation here? How do we feel about it? And I know you alluded to it earlier. Do we know anything with what's going on with Jamar Chase?
Well, I think Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach, yesterday said that he spoke too soon. And I think what happened was when he came out the day before and said that Jamar's back practicing and he absolutely expects him to play week 1. I don't know that the Jamar Chase camp particularly liked those comments where the Bengals are dictating the narrative when things are not done and a contract is still being discussed and Jamar Chase still hasn't been paid. And I think this was Jamar Chase's way of saying, you're not the only one in charge here. I have a say as well. And I'm not going to practice and just step out there the way that you think I am. Now, again, the question is he willing to do that on opening day against the New England Patriots? Is he willing to do that in week 2? Most people around the league believe that he's not. Now, again, I say here's a guy who sat out a full season of college football when there was business at hand. Yeah. I don't know what he's going to do.
And Jamar Chase, so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jamar Chase hasn't spoken publicly, so we don't know exactly what he's thinking. What we do know is that there is an issue. What we do know is that contract talks have been moving in slow motion. What we do know is he's not practicing as of yesterday. What we do know is Zach Taylor said he doesn't know what's going to happen. It's day to day right now. So there's a lot of uncertainty here, and there's still some time to have this play out. Like, you have to figure that Joe Burrow is banging his drum like to get this deal done. They did Joe Burrow's deal after 3 years. Jamar Chase wants his deal done with 3 years. If you're the Bengals, you're saying, well, you've got 2 years left, and we could tag you, and we could tag you again. So we could make the argument that we contractually control your rights for 4 years.
That's a long time.
But Jamar Chase could say, well, I'm not playing this year for $1 million in base salary, a base salary of $1 million. Like, I just think, I've thought this all along. I think this is a complicated situation. And if it weren't, it would have been solved by now. So I think it's been proven to be a little bit of a sticky situation.
Quagmire.
No matter how much some people want to deny that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a conundrum, a little bit of a quagmire, but let's go. Pac-Man Jones obviously lives in Cincinnati, Bengals legend. And what is Cincinnati talking about? Well, what are the thoughts around Cincinnati?
Well, Pat, what we do know is Mr. Brown have never paid a wide receiver with 2 more years left on the deal. What we do know is that we haven't seen no quarterback like Joe Burrows, and God knows when, so that deal had to get done. Do I think the deal will get done during the season? No, I don't. I don't think Mr. Brown do deals during the season, and I don't think he's going to play him with 2 years. Maybe he adds something to the deal, and that's probably why the
incentive-based, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe they're doing
No, not even incentive-based. Probably add, $10 million or whatever the number is to it. But as far as doing a whole new deal, Mr. Brown is not going to do that with 2 years.
What we do know is that Pac-Man's a quick learner there. That's what we know.
Yeah, we do.
That man's a quick learner. I love that.
I think we all know that about Mr. Brown, that have been around the NFL. And the fact that, his daughter, I believe, and son-in-law and everything, they have certainly built up the business of the Bengals. They sold the naming rights to the stadium for the first time ever. That's like hundreds of millions of dollars just sitting there available. And they knew it because Joey Burrow is coming to town. Ohio guy has the ability. It feels like a new era of Bengals football, but now are we going to get trapped in a situation where one of the stars wants a little bit more money? There has to be a deal to be made. By
the way, again, Jalen Waddle, 2 years left on his deal. That deal gets done after 3 years.
Thanks a lot.
Joe Burrow, they did his deal for 3 years after 3 years. So, again, Jamar Chase wants to be paid. Let's be very clear about that.
Deserve.
And we're going to see how these two sides handle it and how far he's willing to push it, which we don't know right now.
There has to be somewhere. But if you miss the game and he's fined, it's like $250,000.
Yeah.
Not even, right? Like, what is the fine if he missed the game? Nothing.
And what I say is, so what? Like, I think, I don't know. I think if you missed a game, I was on the phone last night with a GM. We were talking about this, and it's more complicated. We're going to look into it today, but if he misses a game check, who cares?
It's nothing.
Who cares?
Was it $4 million? He's getting $1 million, you said, in base salary? I thought
$1 million in base salary. What's $1 million divided by 18? Divided by 18.
Is that like
okay, there's your
70 grand, 60 grand?
That is his weekly game check. 70 grand.
Peanuts.
That's the number.
He was making that at school.
Yeah, bingo.
A week, 70 grand a week down there.
But then does the contract toll? Okay, well, again, if Jamar Chase doesn't care about that, then they just keep the contract in place because he didn't play the opener or beyond. But if you're Jamar Chase, like, you've made that decision. If you're not playing the opener, he's not playing the opener and then coming back week 2 to play against the Chiefs without that's why we have to know what he's thinking, and we don't. We don't know how far he's willing to push this right now. My guess is he's going to play. That would be my guess. But do I know that? I don't know that.
Okay. Well, I hope they get it figured out.
Yeah.
They need to get it sorted.
Need to.
There's some business conversation that's coming around. A former quarterback. Connor has a question for you, Schefter.
Yeah, Schefter, why are the owners making it so hard on Tom Brady just to get a little piece of the Raiders? Now it's coming out that, if he does become part owner, that he's not going to be able to sit in production meetings with players. Yeah, here's the tweet right here. Not have access to practice. What's the deal here? And is this just inevitably going to get done for Tom, or are they going to try and put all these different things in place so that it doesn't get done?
Well, no, here's the situation. Other owners have objected to him being a partial owner of the Raiders and being a broadcaster, considering, let's just say Tom Brady is assigned to the number 1 game that week. And let's just say Tom Brady, his Raiders are playing the Chiefs. How can you have a guy who's a partial owner of the team go to Chiefs practice or sit in on meetings? You can't do that. So other owners have objected to that type of thing. And they said, if he's approved as the owner, they're going to have to put in place certain rules, which, again, you'd like to think somebody would be professional enough to abide by that. But again, he's owning the team. He'd be a partial owner of the team. So teams that are going against the Raiders don't want Tom Brady in their broadcast meetings and in their production meetings. They want him.
I want to say this. Just nobody has said the angle that I'm saying, and I can't believe that this isn't what everybody's thought was immediately. So he doesn't have to travel to another city early to watch any practices. He doesn't have to sit in those 4 to 5 hour production meetings on Zoom or in person. He can just show up on game day, call the game, and he's getting paid $350 million, and he owns an NFL team. That sounds like the perfect, and allegedly Tom Brady's camp not happy because he wants to be over-prepared and he wants to see and everything like that.
By the way, as a color analyst, and I've never been an analyst, so I don't know this, and I've been in some production meetings in my life back when I was the initial sideline reporter for NFL Network Thursday night games with Brian Gumbel. And
I remember that. I remember you back there, Schefter.
Yeah. Back in the day. So, you go through those production meetings. I'm just telling you, I wouldn't want to be an analyst for a game, a play-by-play man for a game, a sideline reporter for a game, and not go through those meetings.
Yeah, but he'll get a transcript. He'll get the, right?
I guess. I guess they would send him the transcript. No, they wouldn't. If he's the partial owner of the Raiders, because those meetings are very candid and honest. And coaches tell you what they think of players and what they're planning to do and how they want to attack that team. No, he's not going to get the transcripts of those meetings.
Gosh. All right, so maybe I was wrong in thinking that this was awesome for Tom. But
now you could say, okay, Tom doesn't go to the meetings, he doesn't go to the practice, but he calls the game. But then what insight does he have other than being Tom Brady?
That might be it.
That feels like it's good enough to me.
That's a lot, but he doesn't have the insight and the benefit of sitting in and preparing the way that he would want, the way that everybody else does for these games about these teams.
I agree.
That's what goes on.
I agree, but if you could be an owner of a team and make $350 million a show,
that's having his cake and eating it too. Of course, he would love to do that.
Yeah, as soon as I read it, they're like, Tom's in a bad spot. It's like, what? This is not he's getting 300-some million to call a game. He's only going to show up one, not even allowed to do more.
By the way, if you're Fox, again, he's Tom Brady. I got it. He's one of the most iconic people of all time in sports. But if you're Fox and you're paying Tom Brady all that money, don't you want him to be as involved as he can be in getting ready for a game and being as prepared as he can be for a game? But now, all of a sudden, you can't go to practice, you can't go to production meetings, you can't prepare the way that every other analyst prepares for a game?
That might be force majeure there.
It
might be a force majeure situation in there.
Yeah.
I'm assuming somebody's going to have to kind of look into the details of that whole thing. All I know is Tom Brady calling a game, just watching a game. Like if he's just watching a simulcast, I'm going to be glued to it for at least a year. Now, year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I guess that's where it really starts getting into the whole thing. But Schefty, anything else we should know about Trent Williams? Is that going to get done? That feels like a massive ordeal. Hassan Reddick, you said stalemate. What does that even mean?
It means that the two sides haven't made any progress on Hassan Reddick, and the Niners haven't made a lot of progress so far with Trent Williams. And again, I just feel like we're at the point in the calendar. I always felt like this was going to be one of those weeks that would tell you a lot about each of the situations. And it's amazing to me that there's a real possibility that we may get through the week. Ayuk is in its own category because it could happen anytime or it could go on forever. I give up there. Like, I don't know what that is about. But Trent Williams, Hassan Reddick, Jamar Chase, it certainly feels like those situations right now aren't getting done this week, which means they bleed into the week of the opener, which means that the urgency on them gets dialed up even more, which means, again, when the rubber meets the road, usually these things do get done. But so far, there aren't a lot of signs of hope with Hassan Reddick and Trent Williams so far. But it's Thursday, and there's still a little bit of time. But